Bonus chapter. Grace Hart. Grace got married when she was 33. Her husband was a high school classmate who'd gone abroad after graduation. After returning to the country, he'd pursued her for over 2 years before she agreed to be with him. He came from a good family with excellent credentials and had always been gentle and considerate toward her. But she could never give her heart away again. The last person who'd pursued her for a long time was Dominic Ashford. Dominic was 3 years younger than her. When he pursued her, she'd used their age difference as an excuse to reject him many times. Dominic would always say with a grin, "An older woman brings fortune. I just like girls older than me." It wasn't until much later that she learned he'd been lying. The person he liked was actually younger than him. When she first met Dominic, she hadn't completely forgotten Adrian. Dominic was the complete opposite of Adrian, like a sunny, cheerful boy who would always laugh off her rejections. He'd take her to eat things she liked, accompany her to plays she loved watching, prepare surprises for her. She'd loved Adrian for over 20 years. Even though they dated, she'd hardly received any response from Adrian. She was just an ordinary girl who also wanted to be cherished. With Dominic's meticulous care seeping into every part of her life, how could she not be moved? She thought once she'd completely sorted out her feelings for Adrian, she'd start a new relationship. But before she could sort things out, Dominic changed. The flowers that arrived daily stopped coming. He stopped sending messages, stopped making calls. She'd stare at Dominic's chat window in a daze. Finally, unable to bear the longing, she went to find him, only to hear, "I'm tired, so I've decided to let myself go." When he said this, his eyes held sadness. Grace wanted to explain, to clearly express her feelings to him, but Dominic had already gotten in his car and driven away. For a long time after that, she tried to contact Dominic. She could never reach him. He wouldn't see her until a certain banquet. Grace hadn't wanted to go, but Diana saw she was in a bad mood and insisted she come. "Grace, he only pursued you for a few months. If he's tired, it means his feelings for you weren't that deep. The world doesn't have only Adrian Pierce or only Dominic Ashford. There are many excellent men. Don't give up an entire forest for 1 or 2 trees, okay?" Diana gripped Grace's shoulders, looking at her very seriously. That damn Dominic. If he wasn't going to commit, he shouldn't have started. Pursuing halfway, then running off. Typical seduction without responsibility. Okay. Grace forced a smile. She told Diana she'd seen a business partner and wanted to go say hello. After turning around, she headed toward the back garden instead, because she'd just seen Dominic. She wanted to give herself one last chance to express her feelings. If they still couldn't be together, then they simply weren't meant to be. She didn't want to wrong herself in relationships anymore. "Ava, just reply to my messages occasionally. Adrian won't find out." Under the pale yellow light, a tall man looked down at the person sitting in the chair. That less-than-standard Mandarin made Grace's entire body freeze. She looked at Dominic in disbelief. What didn't she understand now? It wasn't that he was tired at all. The act was simply over. What if he finds out and divorces me? Right now his heart only has my sister. He's been waiting to catch me making mistakes. Grace stood rooted in place. She didn't notice the smiling eyes that glanced her way. She was only thinking, why wouldn't Ava ever let her go? Was it just because Adrian had fallen in love with her? But she no longer loved Adrian. After breaking up, she'd had no private contact with Adrian whatsoever. It was Adrian who'd proactively appeared outside the Hart family villa. He'd proactively said he was wrong, that Ava had deceived him, that he felt terrible about how he'd treated her. Hearing Adrian say those things, she hadn't been completely unmoved. But it was over. She wouldn't repeat her mistakes. Adrian loved to act, and Ava was willing to be deceived. They were made for each other. She wouldn't insert herself between them again. She'd once thought Dominic was the window heaven had opened for her, but it turned out to be a fake window artificially created. Dense, overwhelming pain completely enveloped Grace. Scalding tears slid from her eyes. The first 30 years of her life, she'd had her parents' love. Apart from being unlucky in romance, having received all her parents' love, her life had been filled with affection. That love had given her endless energy. But after 30, her father and mother's love seemed to have been withdrawn overnight. Her parents divorced. Her mother wouldn't see her anymore. Her father transferred his love to her sister. When he died in the car accident, he'd left words for her mother and sister. But for her, not a single word. Most of the property under his name had already been given to her sister. Of his remaining assets, according to his will, besides the Hart family house which he gave to her, everything else was split in two. One portion for her mother, one for her sister. Returning to the Hart house, Grace sat in the spacious living room. She looked at the photo on the wall of her with her father and mother, tears falling silently. She no longer had a father or mother. Grace's gaze fell on Ava's solo photo under the TV cabinet. She was her only blood relative left in this world, though they'd never gotten along well since childhood. She'd seen too many blended families where the original spouse's children were treated differently. From the moment Monica became pregnant, she'd been hostile toward that unborn brother. When Monica was pregnant, many people told her that once Monica gave her father a son, her father wouldn't love her anymore. She'd asked her father and mother over and over again for confirmation. They'd repeatedly assured her that even if they had other children, they'd love her most. Adrian was right. She really wasn't a good person. She was just an ordinary person who wanted all her parents' love. Of course, she could see her sister being treated unfairly, but her sister was her mother's biological daughter. What if her mother and sister became close, thereby neglecting her? Would it eventually become father, mother, and sister, as a happy family of three, while she was just an outsider? She wouldn't allow that to happen. But in the end, she'd become alone anyway, living by herself in this villa, in this place filled everywhere with happy memories of her with her father and mother. Her heart felt like it had a huge hole that could never be filled.